Today's project is assemblage. Assemblage is a way of applying different materials, assembling them together to form more of a sculptural form, 3D, but today I'm doing a relief form, which is a type of assemblage done in more of a two-dimensional to three-dimensional form. And what I'm starting off with is a board, which is made out of plywood. Usually get these at an art supply store. And just showing you what I've done to the surface, because I've already pre-done this ahead of time. I first start off and apply a primer on the whole surface. Primer allows any of the pigmentations you're going to put on here to adhere. The next step is I'm using an encaustic medium, which is beeswax and resin made into these little forms like this, melted, and then when it's mixed with the pigment it looks similar to this. Has to be kept warm, and first step I'm going to do is apply the clear medium on top of the board, and I usually do it in a very even form. After you apply the whole surface like this, you usually do this 2 or 3 layers, and you must fuse each layer with a heat gun, and you do it very slowly like this, very evenly, and this allows any other surface of color pigmentation to adhere to its surface. Next, I've decided to come up with a color scheme. So I'm using a plain white on top of here. I made a divided line, and I then applied my white pigment across here, and that allows this area to be filled up with a background color. And then I applied a different color on the bottom, coming across like this, and then I go and fuse it again with the heat gun, and that becomes now the background and the backdrop actually for the art piece. So I've looked around and wanted to do something with recycle, so I found these things on the street, and they're recyclable paper, used cardboard, used for fruits and vegetables. So I cut them out, and I decided to put them in this direction. So by adding these on here, as you can see, it's starting to build up the surface a little more. Gives it more dimension to the 2D surface. So I then played around with the combinations, and I came up with this type of a combination of the way it should look on the board. Important thing while you're doing this, it's always good to take a step back and just walk away from the piece and look at it from a distance. This will give you a better perspective of what you're actually doing and how you're actually using the combinations in your layout. Then at one point I wasn't sure what to do with the white surface up there, so to break up the very smooth smooth surface, I looked around and found these little foam things. They're actually electrical foam insulators, and I thought it would be best to put them up in this area to give it some depth. And what I like about these, they actually have some sort of a play on eyeglasses or lenses, and I just feel like this was something that it needed on the top because it felt like too flat. I then added these to the top area. And as you can see, this is also recyclable. I just found them in my studio. They've been there for a long time. Didn't know what I was going to do with them. And then again, as you can see, it's now beginning to take a little different form altogether from when I first started with just the color surface. Now I was looking around for more objects, and I found some recycle pieces that I then cut up. These were all one piece, and I found these little cardboard pieces. So I then added wax to this to give it the deep surface, and decided I wanted to do something on the top here. So I actually applied these over to the top, and it began to give this a different surface altogether, almost like tile, mosaic tile. And again, this is recyclable. I found these on the street. It's amazing, you can look around and find these objects that become usable in a piece of art. Again, when I made these and cut them out, they did look like this on the back surface. So coming from this, and it turned into this by adding the wax to the surface and fusing it on. That made it deeper in color tone, and also it adds a little bit of a sheen to the surface. I did get that far. At one point I decided I liked it, but it was missing something down, I don't know, around the frame. So I kept looking in my studio again, found a box of these plastic wire harnesses. There's some kind of electrical, I don't know what, but they definitely had some kind of reference to this color down here for me when I saw it, and had a texture surface to it. So I decided to add that down here on the frame, and what it did for the frame, it actually carried this lower area and made it more distinguished for actually the bottom section of the frame and what's going on in this part of the art, to have a little more excitement to it. So I think at this point I haven't decided what color I'm going to put on the frame itself, which I probably am going to cover it with a wax pigmentation. I'm not quite sure what I might use. Maybe this might be the way to go. But once I finish this, I'll pull all these pieces off, add the wax, fuse it onto the frame. This may even have some texture surface added to it. Then the last step I'll do is add my pieces, secure the pieces on. These will be mounted with screw, because there are screw holes here. And I'll mount these, and these will all get glued down. And by tomorrow it should be all set to go. And at this point, because glue should be left at 24 hours, just for it to be completely bonded to the wax surface. And my next step, after I finish this piece is completed, I usually put a mounting device in the back to mount it to the wall, and the piece is completed. My next phase of doing the assemblage will be another piece, and using the same content and using the same idea of using these figure type recycle pieces, and hopefully the next piece will have a significant play in the series that I'm building on the two-dimensional assemblage for just doing